Gonna go. Buzz McKim, one of the historians with the NASCAR Hall of Fame, is here with us now to show us just a few of these things. And Buzz, I know we're only scratching the surface here, but just with these few artifacts we've seen so far, trophies, things people actually used on the track, and also you guys have a lot of documents as well.
Yeah, we do, and that really kind of helps tell the story, what life was like in NASCAR back in the day and that sort of thing. We're very fortunate. We found literally thousands of items that we're going to be displaying, and everybody has just really bent over backwards to help us. We're very humbled by the response we've gotten from the fans and from the different teams, former drivers, the family of the drivers, and this, for example, and now of course the Wood brothers are known for their prowess in pit stops. You know, they revolutionized pit stops. Well, this is a trophy that the Wood brothers won in 1963, and you can see what the technology was like back there. It's a lug wrench, not an impact wrench. But we've come a long way since those days. This is a really interesting piece. Fred Lorenzen, who was the golden boy of racing back in the 60s and early 70s, he wrote a letter of thanks to Maurice Petty for getting him more horsepower. And now, how often would you get a letter of thanks from a competitor?
Probably pretty rarely these days.
I would say so, but I thought that was a real class deal on Fred. This is a really neat piece, and it's kind of like one of the ultimate fan experiences of the day. Back in the 50s, when they raced on the beach in Daytona, they didn't qualify by the lap. They qualified through the measured mile. And however you qualified, whatever your speed was through that measured mile, that's your starting position. But they would open it up to the public, to the fans, to Granny down the road who thinks she's got a hot Rambler or something, you know? And they'd run through the mile, and if you topped 100 miles an hour in that mile, you'd become a member of the Daytona Beach Century Club, and it's signed by Bill France Sr., and usually a commissioner or someone like that. And then your speed is recorded with this little speedometer that they would draw, and there's your needle. Now this guy, well, this is Marvin Pants. You ran 123.119, and there's the needle at 123. So you can find these if you really look for them, but it's kind of a unique piece there.
And that looks like a pretty low-tech piece of NASCAR history.
Yeah, this is about low-tech. This belonged to a NASCAR official named Bobby Scruggs. He would stand down at the end of the pit road, and you know, if you come out of your pit, if it was safe to go, you know, he'd give you the go, and if you ran the stop, then you'd be hearing from him.
And he was also very brave too.
Extremely.
Yeah. That part.
He certainly was. We just thought this was a riot. This is a can of Davy Allison chili with beans, and it's Davy's own recipe.
And you know what? I actually own a can of Davy Allison chili. I have one.
Is that right?
And, you know, I'd be willing to, if you guys need another one, I'd be willing to donate it. Now, Buzz, how forthcoming were all the people that you contacted about giving up some of these artifacts? I'd imagine some they'd want to have in the hall, but some they'd want to keep. They were so close to their heart that they wouldn't want to give up.
Yeah, well, in that case, we'll go for a loan. We're tickled to death to have items on loan. And our normal term is about a year or two.
Now, I'm willing to give up my Davy Allison chili if you want it. No lease program.
I'll keep that in mind.
Whatsoever.
Maybe we'll go for a six-pack.
Yeah. Now, how do you verify everything? How do you make sure everything's authentic?
Well, we're lucky that the majority of the items came from the people that were involved themselves, whether it be crew members or drivers or team owners or even fans, you know, who had a personal connection to the sport. And we haven't found anything bogus yet. We're very fortunate. Ray Fox, you know, the fantastic car owner, builder, he was coming up with an idea. He said there must be some way that we can speed up these pit stops. So he went down to Sears and he bought 5 little magnets. Well, he bought 20 of them actually, and he made this little deal here where you put the thing on the wheel and then you give it a little bit of a twist and you pull it off, and the lugs would stay on the studs, and then zap, 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 zap. So he said, I spent about 2 weeks building these, one for each corner of the car, and then I got to thinking, well, we used them for a couple of races and it worked out okay, but he thought, well, why don't we just glue the lugs to the wheels?
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yes. Well, this was the left front, and this was probably in the era of the Pontiac that David Pearson drove for him. We're looking at the early 60s here. But, you know, these guys were always thinking, always trying to come up with a reason to stay up late at night and come up with new stuff.
That is so neat, though, that they held on to that. And how much of this kind of stuff are you finding?
Tons. We hear from folks, they have no idea how important this is, because we not only want to entertain, we want to be able to educate, too.
Are you finding yourself learning a few things, even in your position along the way?
Oh, yeah. Most definitely. And I'm hearing the real story. You know, there's the standard story, and then you hear all the details from the inside. And that's a lot of fun, too.